Imagine flying in on private jets, cruising through Venice's canals on your own boat, and saying "I do" while sipping champagne under historic bridges. Sounds like fairy tale luxury until you realize it's built on a fragile city already pushed to its limits. That's exactly what happened when Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sánchez held their jaw-dropping wedding in Venice. But what was a private celebration turned global flashpoint, drawing protest headlines and €1 million backlash. Today we dive deep into why this $50 million super wedding became an environmental and cultural crisis, and how locals stood up to billionaire extravagance. Venice, Italy, a city of canals, decaying palazzos, and fewer than 50,000 residents left in its ancient core. It's sinking, flooded, and buckling under the weight of mass tourism and climate change. Once home to over 100,000 souls, Venice now empties out, locals priced out and displaced. Every cruise ship, jet ski, and tourist selfie erodes its soul. That's why the Bezos wedding wasn't just any private event, it was a spotlight on a city squeezed to breaking point. On June 26-28, 2025, Bezos and Sánchez pulled off the event of the year, a 3-day nuptial extravaganza on San Giorgio Maggiore Island. Guests flew in on 90 private jets, stayed in the famed Amman Venice, and sailed in via private water taxis and gondolas. Think elaborate dinners at the Gritti Palace, foam parties aboard their $500 million super yacht, pajama-themed after-parties, and performances by Matteo Bocelli, Ellie Goulding, and Usher. Lauren dazzled in 27 custom outfits, including a Dolce & Gabbana wedding gown, and reportedly wore a $5 million ring. The price tag? Somewhere between $20 million and $56 million. Yes, million. Yet Bezos also donated roughly $3 million to local environmental groups like Lagoon, researchers, and UNESCO. Sánchez has a strong environmental resume and serves on the Bezos Earth Fund. While Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sánchez exchanged vows in opulent palazzos and sipped wine aboard a $500 million yacht, something very different was happening just across the canal. On the cobbled streets of Venice, hundreds of locals gathered, not to celebrate, but to protest. It started with banners, bold, sarcastic, and powerful. "Eat the rich. Kisses yes, Bezos no. There's no space for billionaires in Venice." Protesters filled the narrow alleyways, waving inflatable crocodiles, symbolizing the artificial invasive spectacle billionaires were bringing into their fragile lagoon city. This wasn't just a few angry voices. Entire community groups like the collective No Grandi Navi, known for fighting cruise ship pollution, joined in. Environmentalists, artists, teachers, gondoliers, all walking side by side. They weren't just protesting a wedding, they were protesting what that wedding represented: excess, gentrification, and the slow death of their city's soul. And it wasn't subtle. They occupied symbolic spaces, hanging banners off the iconic Rialto Bridge, chanting from beneath the ancient bell tower of San Marco, even staging mock weddings in the street to ridicule the luxury unfolding behind closed gates. Why were they so angry? Because while Bezos and Sánchez donated around €3 million to local environmental causes, many saw it as a smokescreen, a PR gesture to greenwash a mega event that contributed to the very problems it claimed to help solve. To Venetians, the wedding symbolized how their city has been sold off. Year after year, short-term rentals and luxury tourism force families to move out. The average rent in Venice has skyrocketed, impossible for a gondolier or a cafe worker to afford. Stores that once served locals now sell €200 handbags. The population is aging, young people are leaving, schools are closing, and in this context, Jeff Bezos didn't just arrive. He arrived with 90 private jets, a super yacht that towered over the skyline, and hundreds of elite guests eating in restaurants locals can't even step into anymore. Protesters described the wedding as a colonial spectacle, saying Venice had been reduced to a luxury Instagram backdrop. At one point, protesters in red robes and carnival masks staged a dramatic mock funeral for Venice itself, symbolizing a city buried under money and indifference. The message was haunting. If we don't stop this kind of spectacle now, soon there won't be any Venice left to save. Even though the wedding brought in millions in temporary revenue for hotels and tourism businesses, the backlash was clear. The people who actually live in Venice felt voiceless. This was not their Venice anymore. It was Bezos's Venice, for one weekend only. And yet, amid the noise, the chants, and the banners, there was heartbreak. Because what locals truly want isn't just fewer billionaires. They want a future. They want a livable city. They want respect. The guest list: a who's who of the elite. Oprah, DiCaprio, Kardashians, Tom Brady, Bill Gates, Lady Gaga, Ivanka Trump, about 200 VIPs. The irony wasn't lost, especially when environmental champion Leonardo DiCaprio showed up under a flimsy baseball cap. Critics called it a disguise fail, pointing out how his presence alongside Bezos undercut his eco credentials. Rosie O'Donnell slammed it as gross excess and criticized attendees like Oprah, and Charlize Theron echoed the sentiment. Theron branded it un asco and connected it to broader social injustices, calling for activism and accountability. Venice's mayor and business leaders took the opposite stance. They said hosting such a major event brought millions in tourism, boosted hotels, restaurants, gondoliers, and taxis, and Venice has always welcomed dignitaries and visitors. Regional officials celebrated the wedding's economic injection, but critics warned such gains come at the price of Venice's identity and rent locals out for glittering photo ops. Here's the ugly truth. Hundreds of private jets, super yachts spewing emissions, motorboat traffic jolting fragile banks, and additional footfall all worsened pollution, noise, and erosion. Venice is already fighting rising tides, with floodwaters once reaching 1.87 melbs in 2019, causing €1 billion damage. The Meuse barriers help, but frequent tourism surges can still destabilize foundations and pollute the lagoon. Locals say it's not just about a wedding, it's a symbol. When billionaires treat Venice like a luxury backdrop, they threaten centuries of history and a living community. Venice isn't the only city under strain. Paris, Barcelona, Dubrovnik, they all wrestle with over-tourism, gentrification, and climate threats. What makes this story unique is the celebrity of Bezos himself. As Amazon's founder, Blue Origin space boss, and world's fourth richest man, he symbolizes inequality, unchecked capitalism, and environmental disconnect. By staging a wedding there, Bezos sparked a worldwide conversation. Is this the way cultural landmarks should be used? Is a mega wedding worth destroying local fabric? Protesters aren't stopping. They want deeper limits, stricter controls on jet arrivals, yacht access, short-term rentals, and tourist mega events. Meanwhile, Venice has trialed tourist taxes, cruise ship bans, and limits on tour groups, but locals say it's still not enough. Some experts say this could be a pivotal moment. Maybe it'll spark real policy change, a moratorium on billionaire parties, or a reimagined tourism model that values residents over revenue. So what should we take away? A private wedding isn't just a party when it unfolds on a global stage. It becomes a statement, a reflection of priorities, values, and who gets to live in legendary places. What do you think? Are massive luxury celebrations worth Venice's future? Or do these weddings symbolize a world that no longer protects its heritage? Drop your thoughts below, let's talk. Like if you believe in sustainable tourism. Subscribe for more stories where wealth, culture, and climate collide. Until next time, stay curious and protect the places we all love.